guys, it's Bastian time. This is This Week in Zelda News. I'm your host Bastian, and truth be told, I'm a little bit sick, getting over a fever or a cold thingamajig, so if I seem a little bit off my game this time around, well, excuse me, viewers. Let's get to those top stories. So the big news of this past week was a website called Games supposedly listed Majora's Mask 3D for the Nintendo 3DS, and that seems to perfectly coincide with the fact that Nintendo just announced that they were going to do a Nintendo Direct. That's the every once in a while, every couple of months or so, or actually every month it seems, they have a streaming presentation of pre-recorded announcements for new games and new details about already announced games and so on. And so it seems like this is perfectly matched because Nintendo's doing a Nintendo Direct, so they may, and the Nintendo Direct was just going to be about 3DS games and some Wii games, no Wii U stuff at all. So it seemed like almost plausible, except for the fact that usually Nintendo Direct is, there's a Japanese one, and then there's one for Europe, and then one for North America, or the Americas in general. And so it seemed like if it's Majora's Mask 3D, and that would be such a huge announcement, they wouldn't just do a Japanese-only Nintendo Direct, so, I mean, I didn't think it was going to turn out, and sure enough, the guy who created the fake screenshot to prove that Game really did publish this on their website came forward and said, ha ha, tricked you guys, lol. So, yeah, wow. But I don't think too many people were fooled. It wasn't that likely. Nintendo has specifically said that they are definitely considering Majora's Mask 3D for the 3DS, but they would rather first release a brand new Zelda title for the 3DS, so they probably will definitely do Majora's Mask 3D at some point in the later life cycle of the 3DS is my guess, but first we're going to get a brand new Zelda 3DS. Speaking of Majora's Mask, here are some amazing art prints created by an artist. They're really awesome, kind of in the style of a old-timey tourism sort of poster that you would see if you went to your travel agents. They would have these posters like, come to the beautiful Snow Peak. What's kind of interesting though is, as beautiful and awesome as these are, they're kind of copying something that we've already seen before. A different artist did these Hyrule, like Ocarina of Time specific Hyrule posters for various locales, and came up with this style basically of using an old-timey sort of 1930s sort of approach to some tourism posters. So, I mean, these Majora's Mask posters are awesome, but it's kind of hard to get too terribly excited and want to pay tons of money for them when somebody else has already kind of came up with that idea first. Next up is a realistic Wind Waker, sort of. It's just a Skyrim mod, and what they did is they went ahead and recreated Windfall Island. Did a really great job. I mean, it never occurred to me that Windfall Island could look so good in a realistic style. The Wind Waker style has really grown on me, and I think it really stands the test of time. It's a really beautiful art style that doesn't look dated. I mean, at this point, Twilight Princess looks pretty dated, and Wind Waker still looks as fresh as ever, so anyway, it's awesome, check it out. Next up is the Golden Joystick Awards, and Skyward Sword is up for 3 awards in that. Obviously for Best Action Adventure, Best Gaming Moment, and they're calling that like a WTF sort of moment, and that's specifically for the Sans Sea. And that is a really awesome moment. It blew my mind. I was like, holy crap, they didn't have to do all of this just for an interesting visual effect, but they did, and it was sweet. And then the third award that it's up for is like Best Game Overall, and it's up against some pretty stiff competition, so I'm not really expecting it to win any of those categories, especially not really the last two. It might win the Best Action Adventure if you guys go vote for it. So There'll be a link to how you can go vote down below. Our next story is about the official English localization of Hyrule Historia, and the fact that GlitterBerri, whom you have heard me ramble about often, is a fan translator of various Japanese things that have never made their way into English, and she headed the team that translated all of Hyrule Historia. Now, she's actually part of the official team. So good job, GlitterBerri, for turning something that you do as a fun hobby into an actual paid profession. That's awesome. But for us, what's awesome about that is that we know that an actual factual Zelda fan who's completely well-versed with the Zelda universe and can make sure to get all of those details right and has already been through the process of translating Hyrule Historia will get it all right for the official version. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Our next story is about some new Link figurines. It's classic Link, looks like maybe from specifically the first game, and then a Wind Waker or maybe Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks style Link, and then Skyward Sword Link. All really well crafted, looks awesome. They're coming out in January, so it seems a bit early for them to be announcing these, but I suspect they're going to sell pretty well because they're very reasonably priced. They're Japanese only, so they might be a little tricky to get your hands on, but go ahead and check the link for this one down below and you'll see how you can go ahead and order those. Our next story is comes from a rapper named ROlla, and he messaged me personally and said that he had done a Zelda Rap based on the dungeon theme. I checked it out, of course, I checked them all out, and it was pretty darn good. Not only is his rap sort of related in theme with the Zelda series, but also he dresses up as Link. And anyways, very entertaining. You should definitely check this one out. Our next story is about a set of Zelda Shield decals. These are awesome, and I'm definitely getting a set of these. They've got the shield from Zelda 1, The Adventure of Link, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, all of them, basically, and they all just look so good. I can't even imagine where I'm going to put them all, but I'm getting some, and there's a link on how you can get your own set too as well down below. And then our final story is about a pretty sweet shirt. It's Darunia and his, infamous hot beat quote, and it looks pretty awesome. There's so many awesome Zelda shirts out there that I don't know if this one's on the top of my list, but it's pretty good. And that's it for this week in Zelda news. Didn't hold any stories over for this week in Nintendo news. This was the whole batch, so the This Week in Nintendo news will just be Nintendo-specific stuff, and that'll be up in a couple days, and I'll see you then. Bye. Next story is about an article that this website wrote about the evolution of Ganon, and as I'm saying this, I decided I really don't care, I'm going to skip this one.